Most people spend more time choosing a hotel for a 2-week vacation than they spend deciding where to live for the next 30 years of their life. They read every review. They compare the pools. They check the neighborhood on Street View at 3 different times of day, but where they'll wake up every single morning for the rest of their retirement. A lot of people just drift into it. They stay where they are out of habit. They follow someone they know. They pick somewhere they visited once on a good day in October, when the light was perfect and the traffic was manageable and everything felt possible. Then they move there full time and discover that October was the easy part. But here's something that stops most people cold when they first hear it. The single strongest predictor of life satisfaction in retirement isn't money. It isn't climate. It isn't the size of the nest egg or the tax rate or the healthcare ranking. It's whether you feel genuinely known by the people around you. Whether you have somewhere to go where someone recognizes your face. Whether, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, you feel like you belong somewhere. And here's the part that changes everything. The places that provide that feeling are not always the ones people choose. And the places people most often choose are not always the places that provide it. Welcome to Settled Living, where we help Americans find the best places to live, retire, and genuinely thrive. If you're enjoying this, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. We post new retirement and senior lifestyle content every week, and we genuinely don't want you to miss it. Now let's get into what nobody is telling retirees about where they choose to live, and why it matters more than almost any other decision they'll make. Here's something else researchers didn't expect when they started looking at retirement satisfaction data. Some retirees who move to famous retirement destinations, the warm, sunny, well-marketed ones, report feeling less connected after just 2 years than friends who never left their hometowns. Less connected, not financially worse off, not unhealthy, just quietly, persistently, less tied to the life around them. That finding surprised the researchers. It probably surprises you too, but once you understand why it happens, it changes how you think about this entire decision. Picture a retired couple named Robert and Linda. They did everything right. 2 years of research, spreadsheets, ranking websites, conversations with financial advisors. They compared state income taxes side by side. They looked at healthcare quality scores. They chose somewhere that looked excellent on paper. Moved into a development built specifically for retirees. And within 18 months, both of them were quietly describing something they hadn't anticipated. Not money problems, not health problems, just loneliness. The particular, persistent kind that comes from being surrounded by dozens of people who are all like you, strangers to each other. People who arrived from somewhere else and haven't figured out how to belong yet either. One retiree in a similar situation once joked that the only person who knew her name after 6 months was the grocery store self-checkout machine. It's funny because it's painfully true for more people than most retirement guides ever acknowledge. The numbers had been right for Robert and Linda. The life hadn't matched the picture they'd been carrying around in their heads. But what happened next completely changed how they viewed retirement. They moved to a smaller town in North Carolina, not the one with the lowest tax rate on their list, not the one with the highest healthcare score, the one where a neighbor brought dinner over on their 3rd night, the one where someone at the farmer's market learned their names by the second Saturday they showed up, the one where Linda said it felt like the world had finally decided to wait for them. A year later, both of them described their retirement as something genuinely different. Not because the money had changed, because the daily texture had. And that texture, it turned out, was everything. Now here's something that surprises almost everyone. When researchers looked at the data, the places where retirees actually thrive are often nowhere near where people expected to find them. When U.S. News and World Report released its 2026 Best Places to Retire rankings, evaluating more than 850 American cities, the #1 spot went to Midland, Michigan. Not a Florida beach town, not a Tennessee mountain community, not Scottsdale or Santa Fe, or any of the names that tend to dominate the retirement conversation. A small Midwestern city most Americans have never seriously thought about. Midland scored at the top for quality of life, affordability, low crime, walkability, and strong access to culture and leisure. Weirton, West Virginia came in at number 2, with strong scores in quality of life, happiness, affordability, and retiree taxes. Neither of these places sounds like a dream retirement destination. Both of them, apparently, feel like one. And there's another factor that almost every retirement ranking misses entirely. It has nothing to do with tax rates or median home prices. A beautiful place isn't automatically a good place to grow older. And the data is starting to show us exactly why. Researchers who study how physical environments affect health have found consistent evidence that certain qualities of where you live have measurable effects, not just on how you feel, but on how long you actually live. Access to green space reduces stress hormones in ways you can measure in blood. Walkable environments increase daily movement without requiring any motivation or willpower, because the movement is simply built into the act of going about your day. In the brief, ordinary social interactions that happen when you live somewhere people naturally cross paths. The exchange with the coffee shop owner, the nod to the neighbor walking the dog, the quick conversation at the corner accumulate over time into a felt sense of belonging that researchers now believe is one of the most powerful health inputs available to any human being. More powerful than gym memberships, more powerful than weather, arguably more powerful than income, once basic needs are met. Picture opening your front door at 8 in the morning. You wave to the same neighbor walking his dog. You take the 5-minute walk for coffee, and the owner already has your order ready before you reach the counter. You stop for 10 minutes to talk to someone you've started running into every few days. You come home, and you've spent almost no money and barely any effort, and yet something about the morning already feels full. That ordinary sequence of nothing in particular might, according to the research, matter more to your long-term well-being than saving another $2,000 a year in taxes. That's not poetry. That's what the data keeps finding. Consider a retired nurse named Patricia, who understood more than most people what aging actually requires, because she'd watched it happen to thousands of patients. She knew she wanted mountains, a manageable size, and good medical care within reasonable reach. She found what she was looking for, not in Asheville itself, which had grown expensive and crowded, but in a smaller community nearby, where the mountains were still there. The infrastructure was solid, and the town had the particular warmth of a place that hadn't yet been discovered by everyone at once. Patricia has a ritual now that would have been unthinkable during her working life. Coffee on her porch while she watches the ridgeline change color as the light comes up. Then a walk through her neighborhood, where she knows more people by name after 2 years than she knew in 20 years of her old suburb. That's not a financial metric, but it's the whole point. Retirement isn't about escaping your old life. It's about creating one that fits who you've become. What does thriving in retirement actually mean to you? Not in the abstract, not on a survey, on a specific morning when nothing special is happening and you're just living your day. We'd love to hear your answer in the comments below, because the answers this community shares always surprise us, and they might help someone else figure out what they're really looking for. WalletHub's 2026 study compared all 50 states across 46 separate indicators covering affordability, quality of life, and healthcare, and found Wyoming ranked number 1 overall, largely due to its low crime rates, affordability, some of the best elder abuse protections in the country, and no estate or inheritance taxes. For the right person, Wyoming is genuinely extraordinary. The landscape alone makes some people feel more alive than they have in years. But Wyoming's winters and rural character are the opposite of thriving for someone who needs walkability, cultural activity, and daily human contact within easy reach. The rankings are a starting point. They were never meant to be a destination in themselves. Here's something that made researchers rethink retirement planning completely. One of the happiest retirees in a long-term well-being study had deliberately chosen a colder climate in a small northern city, specifically because she'd grown up in a place with real seasons and realized, when she thought honestly about it, that the rhythm of winter made her feel like herself in a way that endless summer never had. She said she needed the change of seasons the way some people need coffee. She needed September to feel like September. She needed the first real snowfall to mean something. She'd looked at Florida and Arizona and the Carolinas, and she'd understood intellectually why people loved them. She'd also understood that they weren't her. Finding the right retirement place isn't about finding the objectively best climate. It's about finding your climate. But here's something almost nobody expects. Some retirees actually become less active and less socially connected after moving somewhere warmer. When you move somewhere new, even somewhere beautiful, you lose the invisible architecture of connection you spent years building without noticing. The dry cleaner who asked about your grandchildren, the walking route where you knew which dog would be out at which time, the diner booth that was somehow always yours on Sunday morning. Warmth doesn't rebuild that. Time does. Community does. And some places rebuild it faster than others. The Motley Fool's 2026 analysis of the 50 best places to retire, ranked by what retirees actually value most, evaluated every county in the country across 7 key factors, with quality of life as the most crucial of all. The places that rose to the top weren't the ones with the most famous names or the most reliably warm weather. They were the places where the infrastructure of daily life supported the actual living of a life, rather than getting in the way of it, where errands felt manageable, where the town had a center, where ordinary days had texture. James and Eleanor spent their working lives in Chicago and always assumed retirement would mean leaving the Midwest entirely. They visited Florida, Arizona, the Carolinas. They looked at all the obvious places with the appropriate level of seriousness, and then they spent a long weekend in a small Michigan city for a family obligation, not a retirement research trip. And on the last morning before driving home, they found themselves in a coffee shop on a corner, watching the town go about its business. People walking dogs, an older couple at the next table arguing cheerfully about something inconsequential, a farmer's market setting up across the street in the unhurried way of a place that didn't seem in any particular hurry about anything. James looked at Eleanor and said he wasn't sure they needed to go as far as they'd been thinking. They eventually chose a town 2 hours from Chicago, a region they'd never seriously considered, and described their retirement as the quietest kind of wonderful, which, as Eleanor puts it, is exactly what they didn't know they were looking for until they found it by accident. The financial factors matter, and they should be part of every serious retirement plan. Taxes, housing costs, healthcare access, the predictability of monthly expenses. These have real consequences for how long savings last and how much freedom a fixed income actually provides. But they're the floor of the decision, not the ceiling. Once the floor is solid, the question that determines whether retirement feels like the reward it was supposed to be is quieter and more personal than any of those numbers. Does this place feel like somewhere I belong? Does the morning here feel like something I want to meet? Does the shape of daily life here fit the shape of the life I actually want? Those questions can't be answered by any spreadsheet, but they're the ones worth asking honestly before the boxes get packed. At the beginning of this video, we talked about spending weeks choosing a hotel while spending very little time choosing where to spend the next 20 or 30 years of life. Hopefully after today, you'll never make that mistake, because retirement isn't the reward for finishing work. It's the chance to finally build a life you never had time to live. And the best retirement isn't the one where your money goes the furthest. It's the one where your days feel the fullest. Years from now, when you open your front door on an ordinary Tuesday morning, I hope you're stepping into a place that already feels like home. If this video helped you think about your retirement a little differently, please like it, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another retirement guide from Settled Living. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Where are you in this process? What does thriving actually look like for you? Your experience could help someone else make a better decision than they might have made on their own. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.